Welcome to Vegetarian Fresh Week 2. So I hope you guys all enjoyed making the chili last week with the garlic bread. I have received some feedback and it looks great so far. Can't wait to receive some more. So this week we're going to actually be making macaroni and cheese with a side of broccoli. But before we do, I just want to go through some things. First off, some reminders. So the pre-survey that was submitted before the start of the program, and it was in the initial email that I sent to you. That's really important. If you haven't completed it, make sure that you do complete it. Also, the media release form that was attached to the last week's email. Make sure you complete that so I can share your beautiful creations with the rest of the group. Also, next week is the last grocery box drop-off. So in order for you to receive that, you want to make sure that you post some pictures on your social media account. Use the hashtag FreshCK. You can email the pictures to myself as well, or you can email me any questions or comments. All of that will be helpful, and we'll make sure we get you your grocery box drop-off next week once you do complete those. So just a recap of last week, we talked about the main focus with a vegetarian diet is shifting the source of protein. So instead of having animal sources, you're looking for plant sources. The rest of the meal, the fruits and vegetables, the grain products, there's no concern there. It's just at that protein part of the meal that's the main concern. So shift your focus there. And then we also talked about reasons why people might choose to follow a vegetarian lifestyle. So it might be ethical, philosophical, religious, health reasons, or maybe just a preference. This week, so types of vegetarianism, as you can see I listed 5 here: vegan, lacto-ovo, pescatarian, and flexitarian, also known as semi-vegetarian. So I went from the most strict to the least strict. So vegan, you don't have any type of animal products. Some people don't even include gelatin or honey. There's also lacto-vegetarian, so only include dairy but no other animal products. There's lacto-ovo, which has dairy and eggs, and some people are just ovo, which has eggs and no other animal products. And there's pescatarian, so you just have fish and no other animal product. And then there's flexitarian or semi-vegetarian. So these people generally follow a vegetarian diet, but sometimes they might have meat, fish, and or poultry. There have been some concerns that when they go out, they might have that, but in their house, they stick to just a vegetarian diet. It really depends on them. They tend to have more of a plant-based diet, but they do switch as needed. Now, when you're following a vegetarian diet, there are some nutrients of concern. So here I listed 5 of them. We're going to focus on iron, protein, calcium, and vitamin D and vitamin B12. So if you're vegan, you want to really pay attention to all of these. But if you do include some animal products within your diet, then you might not be needing to be concerned with all of them. You might not need to focus on some. For example, if you do include dairy, then calcium and vitamin D, you'll find that within the milk products. You'll also find some protein there, so it might not be of more concern, and so forth. So the first one is iron. So iron is responsible for oxygen transport throughout the body. When you're looking at plant sources, they are what we call non-heme. So the body doesn't absorb them as much as animal sources. So you definitely want to pay attention to this nutrient. Vitamin C rich foods increase the absorption of iron. So my main point would be to ensure iron sources are at meals. Increase your intake above the recommended levels, since you're not able to absorb as efficiently as heme sources, the animal sources. You want to pair it with vitamin C rich foods to make sure that you absorb as much as you can. And you want to avoid drinking tea and coffee with meals, since these will decrease the absorption of the iron in your foods at that meal. Another nutrient of concern is protein. So protein is important for growth, repair, enzyme, and hormone formation. It may help to retain more calcium from the diet when you're looking at plant protein sources. So sometimes this is beneficial for vegetarians to make sure that they do have more calcium in their diet, because the protein is going to help retain that. And the overall goal is make sure that you consume a variety of protein throughout the day to make sure that it's a whole protein that you are getting. The next nutrient of concern is calcium. So this is involved in bone and teeth formation, nerve and muscle functioning, and blood clotting. So salt actually increases the amount of calcium that your body gets rid of, and caffeine disturbs the amount of calcium that you can absorb. So in order to get enough calcium within a vegetarian diet, you want to make sure that you're choosing calcium-rich foods or fortified juices, while at the same time limiting salt and coffee intake. Vitamin D is another nutrient of concern. So this assists with calcium absorption in your bones, and it's also involved in the immune system. So if you're a vegan, you might want to consider getting a supplement, and vitamin D2 would be a plant-based vitamin D supplement. There is vitamin D3, but that is animal-based. If you live in Canada, during the colder months, we actually aren't able to absorb it efficiently from the sun, so that might be another reason to consider supplementation. And then if you're above the age of 50, you also want to consider a daily supplement, which is recommended by Health Canada, and that's 400 international units or 10 micrograms. So for vitamin D, you want to assess the need for supplementation. So maybe consider your age, what you're eating, as well as where you live. Consume fortified foods and enjoy the sun during the warmer months. And vitamin B12. This is involved in cell division, red blood cell formation, and nervous system maintenance. So folate may mask the damage of vitamin B12. So within a vegetarian diet, there usually is a lot of folate in it. So sometimes you might not notice if you're deficient in vitamin B12, and your hemoglobin might be within range. Vitamin B12 can cause a type of anemia, so causing the red blood cells to be lower. So vegans should consider getting annual blood work, and otherwise you might have to consider taking a daily supplement, or make sure that you're including foods that are fortified with vitamin B12. Alright, so now we're going to the worksheet. So pull out that booklet and let's go over some of these questions. The first one is a self-reflection question. It says, were you able to complete your goal from last week? Why or why not? So think about what we talked about last week and what goal you came up with. And then write down maybe the reasons why you did or didn't complete that goal. Don't forget, you can pause this video in order to complete this part. The next question is, what vegetarian lifestyle diet do you currently follow or wish to follow? Do you desire to be a vegan? Or are you already a lacto-vegetarian? Are you a flexitarian? These are some questions to consider. The third question is, do you need to focus on any vitamins and or minerals to meet your nutritional needs? If so, try to write down ways that you can include them in your diet. And this will also depend on what type of vegetarian lifestyle you follow. After answering these questions, then you might realize that maybe you need to work on something. The part down below gives you the opportunity to write down a goal. And remember, we want our goal to be SMART. That's specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and within the time frame. You might also need to write down steps to achieve your goal. So this is definitely going to help you make sure that you can meet your goal. And then any possible challenges that may occur and also hypothesize some solutions. So this week we're making macaroni and cheese with broccoli. So in order to make the cheese, we're actually going to be using cashew and nutritional yeast. This helps not only with the flavor, but with the nutrient profile to help meet some of our nutrients of concerns following a vegetarian lifestyle. Well, let's go ahead and let's get to it. So now we're gonna make macaroni and cheese, vegan style. Normally you might wonder, how can we make it to taste like that? But the trick is really in the cashews. So for this, I soaked it for about 8 hours. You want to soak them for about 2 to 11 hours, and also in the nutritional yeast. So this is a great source of vitamins for those who are vegetarian or vegan. It's got B vitamins in it. It's a complete protein, so it's going to give you all the amino acids that are essential within this. It also has vitamin B12, and this is a nutrient of particular concern for those who are vegan. You want to make sure that you get vitamin B12 since most sources are animal sources. But this nutritional yeast actually has it in it, so it's a great thing to have in your diet. You can use it by sprinkling it on soup, putting it on popcorn, really whatever you like, or for nice cheese flavors, we're going to use it today when we make our macaroni and cheese. So as you can see, I got my mise en place here. I have the lemon juice, so 1 lemon is basically all you need. The nutritional yeast, the soaked cashews. I picked up some smart pasta, so this is just refined pasta, but they add an extra fiber. It is macaroni. If you can find whole wheat, that would probably be the best. This is second best, not as good as whole wheat. And then I got my black pepper and garlic powder. So I'm gonna go ahead and prepare the pasta according to the instructions on the box. So this one says about 5 minutes. So let's go ahead, let's take a look as I prepare the pasta. The pasta is already done and prepared and put aside. I'm gonna start with actually getting the sauce ready. So I already have them put in here. I have the cashews, the lemon juice, nutritional yeast, black pepper, garlic powder. The only other thing that I'm looking to put in there is the water. So we're gonna start off with just about 1/4 cup of water, and then as it purees and we pulse it, we might add more to make sure that it gets to a nice smooth consistency. So I'm just gonna put this right here. You might not have a blender, you might have a food processor. Whatever you use to kind of get it nice and pureed, that's what you wanna stick with. I'm gonna just put in the 1/4 cup of water in there. All right. I'm just gonna pulse it. So I can see it's starting to puree pretty nicely. There are a little bit of clumps. I don't think I need to add much water. Just stir it up, make sure the solid pieces get in there. Really starting to puree. You see it there. Just have to scrape down the sides. I think I just want a little bit more water, not a lot. I think mine will
be nice and pureed. One more time for me. Not sure how many times it'll take you, but you've seen how many times it takes me. Okay, that looks really good and ready. Can you see that? It's nice and pureed. It is still a tiny bit lumpy, but maybe it's due to my blender. All right, so now you're gonna take this, you're gonna scrape it out into a small saucepan. You're gonna warm it up a little bit. So why don't we head on over to the stove so we can warm this up. All right, so we're now at the stove. I got the saucepan and I put all of the sauce in here. I actually did taste some of it. It was pretty good. Maybe add a little bit of salt if that's your preference, but the lemon juice actually masks some of that. So once it's warmed up a little, I mean, you just need a few minutes, really at low or in between low and medium. You can add in the pasta noodles. So I'm gonna go get the pasta noodles. I'm gonna put some in here. All right, so I got the noodles and I'm gonna pour some of the noodles right in there. So I want a nice coating of the noodles, just how you would have regular macaroni and cheese. Stir it around. Remember, you want the temperature low. You just want it to be a little bit warm. It's coming out nice and cheesy. I actually do want to add some soy milk to here, just to give it a little bit of liquid, a little bit more liquidy. So I'm gonna get my soy milk and I'm just gonna add a little bit in there. Right back. All right, I got the soy milk. So I'm gonna keep the temperature at low. Stir it around until I get a nice consistency of what I like. If you want to flavor it differently, I would probably suggest putting in some minced fresh garlic to give it a nice flavor. And I also really love Italian seasoning. So putting in the Italian seasoning, or even some cayenne pepper. I like my macaroni and cheese a little spicy, but it's really up to you how you like it. So you can see it's getting really nice and creamy. I can't wait to try it. I can add a little bit more noodles in here. I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna mix it around some more. I think I'm gonna throw in some cayenne pepper, so kind of see what I have in my cupboards here. And just to give it a little bit of spice. And like I said, Italian seasoning as well. And I do like some onion powder, so definitely gonna add some of that in there. Sauteed onions would probably be pretty good too with it, but that's what I'm gonna do. For now, I'm gonna mix it around and around. And it's starting to look about ready. I can't wait to go, sit down, plate it, and eat it. So now we're on to prepare the side for our pasta dish. So with macaroni and cheese, I really like to pair it with just a simple vegetable. It's an easy side and it works very well. I like using broccoli as a side to macaroni and cheese, and that's what we're going to be using this week. Of course, you could use whatever you want at home. You don't necessarily have to always pair it with broccoli, but just for this meal and for this program, I'm going to do that for you. So here I got 2 pieces of broccoli. I'm just going to cut them into small pieces, bite-sized pieces. You can really cut it to whatever size pieces that you do like or that you do prefer. There's a couple ways to cut it. You can cut it just like that, so just taking the knife and going through. One other easier way to cut it is cut it straight. So you just cut off the head, and then you can use your hands to kind of, pick the side the floor is. So you can do it either or, really whatever your preference is. So there's two ways that you can steam broccoli. There's actually 3, but in this program I only put 2 in the recipe book. The third is using the microwave. But other than that, what you can do is if you have a steamer, so you have a steaming top and the bottom piece, you just fill the bottom piece with some water, maybe about 1/3 to 1/2 of it. Put on the top with your broccoli on top, and then you add your seasonings. Put the lid on, put it on the stove, put it on high, and for maybe about 5-7 minutes, it's gonna start steaming. You'll see the steam coming out, and you'll just use a fork to check to make sure it's the texture that you like. If you don't have one of these, what you could use is just a regular pot. You could fill it about 1/2 inch of water, so just a little bit of water, then put the broccoli in on top of it with your seasonings. Again, cover it, and similar things. Put it on the stove on high, maybe wait about 3 to 6 minutes. Take your fork, pierce the broccoli, make sure it's the consistency that you do want, and there you go. So because I do have one of these pots, I am actually gonna be able to put the water on the bottom, my broccoli pieces on the top, fill the bottom with some water there, and then you can season it however which way you like. So I usually like my broccoli very basic, but I did have some Italian seasoning, so I'm gonna sprinkle some of that on. And then I had some black pepper too, so I'm gonna put some black pepper in. Can't seem to get that open. Just sprinkle some of that on. I'm gonna put the lid on it. I'm gonna put it on the stove, put it on high, let it steam for a few minutes. So I'm gonna go do that, and then I'll get back to you when it's done, and we can check it out, make sure that it's ready to our desired texture. All right, let me go put it on. I'll see you in a few. Okay, so this has been boiling for a few minutes now. I don't know if you can see the steam. There's steam coming off of it. And one little trick that I like to use is actually in the pot. They have little holes in the handles. I love to store my utensils there so I don't have to use so much dishes, and they fit perfectly in there. So just one tidbit if you're not using them. So let's go ahead and check the texture of these. Okay, they are to the consistency that I do like. So I don't know if I can maybe take one out and show you. You can see it right there. And then I like a little bit of hardness to it, but not too hard. So I'm gonna turn this off, stir it around, and then we'll go eat it with the rest of our pasta. So there you have it. I've got my vegan mac and cheese with lots of good nutrients in there, and my steamed broccoli. I'm ready to go ahead and have a bite. I hope you are too. Let's go ahead and let's go try it. It's really good. As you can see, my consistency turned out like this. Yours might turn out a little bit different, really based on your preference and how much liquid you add to it as well. So, I'm gonna try this as well. I mean, you can't go wrong with broccoli. Whether it's plain or it's flavored, broccoli's pretty good. All right, give me a few minutes, let me enjoy this meal, and then I'll get right back to you and let you know what to expect for next week. Wasn't that meal delicious? I'm so happy you could join me while I made that meal, and I can't wait to see your creations. Don't forget to post your pictures, send your pictures to myself, or even just email me with some feedbacks or comment to let me know that you are enjoying it. Or if you're not, let me know you're not too. And we can help change the program to improve it for the next time we do run it. And remember, next week is week 3, so that means another grocery drop-off. So if you haven't already, make sure you do provide pictures or feedback so you can get in with next week and get the next grocery drop-off. Also, don't forget to send in your media release form if you haven't. That way we can display all your wonderful creations to everyone. On that note, I hope you learned a lot this week about what types of vegetarianism lifestyles there are, and as well as to know what nutrients you need for which lifestyle you do choose, and which ones you need to pay a little bit more attention to, just to make sure that you are meeting all your needs. And they all can be met. You just have to make sure that you're focused and you pay specific attention to those nutrients. Well, next week I'm going to talk a little bit more about the benefits of having a vegetarian lifestyle and what some of the studies are saying in that regard. So you definitely don't want to miss that. Also, we are going to be making stir fry with tofu. It's going to be our protein choice for next week. So make sure you're in next week. We also have some rice. There's some protein in there as well. So, but most of it we're going to get from the tofu next week. Take care and have yourself a good week. And I'll see you next week. And hopefully we'll see the grocery drop off at your door too.